Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofia Dorinskaya. I am a doctor, and today we continue our conversations about health. I will answer your questions. A question came in. If I have an allergy right now, should I take nicotinic acid? It is described that when a person has an allergy, taking nicotinic acid reduces the allergic reaction. Why? In our body, there are so-called mast cells in the blood. And when these mast cells come into contact with an antigen, that is, something that causes an allergy, they release histamine. And when they release this mediator, histamine, that's what causes redness, itching, swelling of the skin, and so on and so on. When a person takes nicotinic acid, the redness that is associated with taking nicotinic acid is also related to the release of histamine. It lasts for about 30 to 40 minutes. This slight swelling of the skin, maybe some itching, all of this is also related to the release of histamine. Therefore, when you take nicotinic acid and histamine is released because of it, the severity of the allergic reaction decreases. So, there is absolutely no reason not to take nicotinic acid during allergic reactions. I would really like to draw your attention to the fact that when we talk about vitamins, we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about nutrients. And there are absolutely no situations in a person's life when nutrients, when eating, are forbidden. That just doesn't happen. So if you're worried again, you can come to us. Contact us at the Medical Information Center. Ask how to find you, how to come to you. We have a website on the internet, dorinskia.com. The website is listed under every video. You go to the website and you submit a request for a test for nutrient deficiencies. Because what we do, our main job is to help people eliminate nutrient deficiencies using our method. You submit an application, we respond, and you'll always get a reply if you email us. That's the first question. The next question is about nicotinic acid. Why is gout listed as a contraindication for taking nicotinic acid? I've already answered this question, but let me answer it again. We even had a newsletter about this, and we have our own experience of taking nicotinic acid for gout. When a person starts taking nicotinic acid and experiences those very flushes, it also means that the metabolic processes in the joints begin to improve. Naturally, if improved nutrition comes to a stagnant area, what happens? We get an exacerbation. In any stagnation, where the tissues are swollen, where nutrients and hormones don't reach, destructive processes begin to develop. Tissue dystrophy, then a secondary infection sets in, and so on and so on. And when the nourishment of the tissues improves, first of all, nutrients and hormones are delivered there, and the body begins to get rid of the consequences of stagnation, of inflammation. And this manifests as an exacerbation. Not once, in all the years we've been providing this, have these been exacerbations that are unbearable. We even sent out a newsletter about this. The woman herself, after watching the video, decided to take nicotinic acid. And yes, she also experienced a worsening of inflammatory symptoms in her joints. She was extremely uncomfortable, but she told herself no. Well, there was ignorance, of course, and faith. I believe Dorinskaya. I will continue. And yes, she felt uncomfortable. She felt pain. But within a week, these symptoms went away. As she wrote, suddenly after a week, all the inflammation was gone, and my joints don't hurt anymore. We also had another example. when a woman had changes in the structure of her hands, when her hands were already turning into what they call hands. Flippers. The fingers bend like this. Changes, deformation of the fingers. And yes, taking nicotinic acid, this unpleasant itching, all of this itching, it's all unpleasant. The person just kept going. And after some time, the woman, she wasn't 16 either, as they say, you know? She was already at that age. She said that her hands became straight, meaning her fingers became straight. So the itching and discomfort went away. Sometimes something still itches there, but it's understandable because everything in the body happens in waves. Nothing ever gets completely done at once if the process takes a long time. Why do they write that? It's not allowed in the instructions? Well, because they don't know. They write it. Well, because they don't know. It's very silly to think that everything is known and everyone knows everything. And so they write it directly in the instructions. Yes, sometimes the instructions really do say what's actually true, and sometimes they write such things in the instructions. Well, excuse me, but the instructions, for example, for vitamin C, describe the physiology of an animal, not a human. Well, it's no big deal. They release vitamin C with instructions, and doctors say it brings comfort, but not to human kidneys. Well, it's no big deal, and somehow they live with this false information. This is, of course, complete nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Well, it's fine. They write it in the instructions, and it's not like the sky has fallen on them, so it's the same here. Well, they don't know. Yes, of course. When you have arthritis, you start taking nicotinic acid, and you start getting these flushes. And, oh God, it's a flare-up. Oh God, everything is bad. No, not everything is bad. This flare-up doesn't happen on its own. You need to understand the difference between when the body gets sick on its own and when the body gains the strength to deal with problems. These are different sources of flare-ups. These are different paths of flare-ups. So, when the body is given nutrients and suddenly gains the strength to deal with its existing problems, that's when the body copes. You provide the body with a supply of nutrients, including meat, and more meat, because the body can't get protein from anywhere else except meat. You absolutely need to eat meat. And in this way, after some time, this aggravation goes away, and the body resolves this problem on its own. That's the difference between when a person gets sick due to deficiencies and when the body is given nutrients, and the body itself finds the problem and starts dealing with it because of the presence of nutrients. On the outside, we see the same thing, but the essence of the process is different, and the results of these processes are completely different. This needs to be understood. At the end, I would also like to tell you about a very interesting situation that we have just recently discovered since the channel exists. For a long time, and I've been talking about nutrients for a long time, and nicotinic acid is one of the most important vitamins for the human body. So, of course, like all vitamins, we also used to take it, swallow it orally. But then, there was a situation when we tried to dissolve this nicotinic acid tablet in the mouth, like a lozenge, and we discovered a very interesting phenomenon. The symptoms that nicotinic acid could cause, like heartburn, completely disappeared. I mean, it just went away. It's no secret that sometimes, if a person takes nicotinic acid, especially if they haven't eaten well and their meal was small and didn't have enough meat, yes, it can cause discomfort. Nicotinic acid causes discomfort. But if you start dissolving nicotinic acid in your mouth, then those uncomfortable sensations in your stomach that might occur, they won't happen anymore. Nothing else changes. If, Roughly speaking, there should be redness. If this redness is supposed to happen, it will happen, even if you dissolve your dose of nicotinic acid in your mouth. But when it comes to the gastrointestinal tract, everything is fine because absorption happens in the oral cavity. I'll say right away, the taste of the nicotinic acid tablet isn't exactly disgusting, but it's not particularly tasty either. But it's absolutely tolerable. That's the first thing. Second, I've found a way. I take it together with a chewable vitamin C tablet, sodium ascorbate. We have it for sale here. Let me show you. Well, this one's Hungarian, yes. It comes in a box like this. We have it for sale. It's quite pleasant. There's some kind of flavoring, some citrus, and basically, you can even take any kind of lozenge. Nothing will happen to you. You'll be fine. And with this little lozenge, let this nicotinic acid tablet dissolve in your mouth. This is also one of the methods. This is the correct way to take nicotinic acid. Because people ask me, is it possible to take nicotinic acid as injections? I want to say it again. I think I said it before, or maybe I didn't. But I'll say it now. Vitamins can be taken through the mouth. When vitamins are taken by injection, it is already considered a medical procedure, and it is prescribed by a doctor. Why? Because when you take vitamins by injection, the vitamin doesn't go through all the natural absorption pathways that a nutrient goes through, that food goes through. And for the process to be natural, we need the nutrient to enter the body in a natural way, which means through the mouth. So you either swallow it or let it dissolve, but it's all considered oral intake. Oral means through the mouth, and dissolving is considered transbuccal, which means under the cheek. Bucca is cheek in Latin. That's what I wanted to tell you about nicotinic acid. At the end of the video, I'll also tell you about an interesting observation. Nicotinic acid is needed not only by people, but also by animals. I've already told you that animals also suffer from pellagra, and we have cats at home, and cats also suffer from pellagra. And as a preventive measure, several times a year, we mix vitamins into the meat, into the ground meat, for our cats. And I noticed that if you just give them ground meat without vitamins, without nicotinic acid, they eat it, of course, but they might not finish it. This ground meat is covered and refrigerated for the next day. By then, it's dried out, no longer fresh. And, as you know, they're full. And the cats start acting picky, like, I'll eat this, I won't eat that. And that's the problem. Who's going to finish all this now? And when you add a crushed tablet of nicotinic acid to the ground meat, mix it all together and give it to them. Nicotinic acid isn't bitter, but it does have a not-so-pleasant aftertaste. And when you mix it into a large enough amount of ground meat, you don't notice it. Cats eat this just fine, but usually they might not finish all of it. You cover the ground meat, put it away, and when you take it out of the fridge the next day, you have the freshest ground meat in front of you. It's as if you just opened it. If they don't finish it that day either, you put it away again, and the next day you open it, and it's still the freshest ground meat. It doesn't get stale. It really is amazing, as if this ground meat was just opened in the box you brought from the store. Nicotinic acid has a fantastic property of preserving meat. If you understand that our body is a body of meat, so if you want to preserve, so to speak, youth, health, and beauty, then this is the way to go. You need to preserve it with the most natural substance. You absolutely must take nicotinic acid. You must take it.